Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Dietitian Career Success. I've got a very interesting guest today that I can't wait to introduce you to, but I'm going to set it up a little bit. Have you ever, okay, this is me. I go on vacation. I'm staying at a really nice hotel, maybe like a resort type hotel, and I go into the spa area and I have maybe a spa appointment. I end up talking to somebody, either my massage therapist or somebody at the front desk or whoever is like in there that I'm chatting with. And it becomes sort of clear and obvious to me that, oh gosh, you know what? I could totally provide some nutrition counseling for somebody here at the resort in exchange for a free night at the hotel. I've had this, like, I think about it all the time. Okay, so you may be thinking the same, and I've got an amazing guest who's going to share the business that she created to actually match make together you as a dietitian with luxury resorts and to be able to get a discount on your stay at the resort. So I would like to introduce to you Meaghan Ormsby. Hi, Meaghan.
Hi, really nice to meet you in person.
Oh, so great to meet you. Thank you for sharing all your expertise about what it is that you do. And so I can't wait for dietitians and nutrition professionals to learn more about this. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about, so I've set up the stage about what your business is. You're better at it than I am. I know that you do private practice in
Mhm.
addition to running the Nutrition Travel Exchange Program. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started with the exchange program?
Sure. So the program was born out of a desire, honestly, a desire for what you just said. I wanted a way to travel with a deal, and what kind of trade or barter could I set up so that this could happen? And I don't think that would have entered my mind for two reasons. One, I had never been to an all-inclusive before I started this program. And so it's not like I had that experience and thought, ooh, I want to see if I can find a deal on coming back. But also, it wouldn't have occurred to me if I hadn't heard about fitness doing this. They've been doing this exact same exchange model with resorts for decades.
Hmm.
So I knew that that existed. There was even one of the fitness programs that included dietitians in their membership. This was years ago,
Hmm.
about 15 years ago. I remember this. And so I signed up all excited. Yes, they had the family friendly resorts. I could take my family or I could just take one person. And living in Seattle where it's gloomy most of the year, this was really exciting. And so I was pumped. And lo and behold, they never had trips for dietitians.
Oh, that's interesting. So how does that work then for fitness professionals? So you would work for the resort or you would work for a company that partnered with the resort?
They would work for a company that partnered with a resort. So
Hmm.
just like dietitian members in my group, our members and kind of quote unquote work for me.
Oh, interesting.
the
Yes.
the yoga instructor on site, if you're ever at an all-inclusive and the yoga instructor or Pilates instructor or pool aerobics or whatever has like maybe a Texas accent, and you might guess that they don't live locally, they might be in a fitness exchange program.
That's fascinating. Okay, so you then created this opportunity or this exchange for dietitians to be part of this and to be able to work at the actual resort. Tell us more about that.
Uh-huh. So, I wanted the exchange and it kind of grew into, well, why not try what the fitness group is doing? And so now it's at a point it's a few years after the Thought Baby started and about 2 years, we're just almost at the 2 year anniversary of dietitians other than me being in resorts. So that's exciting. And it works just like the fitness programs do. So it's 7 nights, all inclusive for the dietitian, and then they can bring one companion, sometimes more at a reduced rate. Um, and so the exchange part is you get a reduced rate, all inclusive for you and a companion. For the 2 hours a day you're not doing dietitian stuff, you're 100% guest. So
Oh,
we
okay.
don't go and are the resort dietitian, all day, every day. It's up to 2 hours per day of nutrition infused activities that we're providing. So the
Oh, that's
dietitian prep to
fantastic.
go, yeah, it's really fun. These are activities like tabling activities. I
Hmm.
don't know if I've ever tabled, but a lot of dietitian members that I chat with as they're becoming members, tell me like, oh yeah, I've done this before when I was tabling at a wellness fair or on a
Oh,
or
yeah.
Sometimes
So
dietitians will say,
that's a
I'm used to talking to people that might not want to talk to you. I work at a college.
That's awesome. Oh, that sort of helps me see it conceptually then when you're there as a guest as a yeah, as a discounted rate that you then participate in up to 2 hours of being like sort of working at a health fair as a dietitian.
Yep. Yep. So we're
And
doing the same activities you would do if you had a table at a health fair.
I have to commend you. Like that is genius. I love that you saw that there was this need. It wasn't being created or fulfilled by anybody else. You knew it was going to be a fun activity or a fun way for dietitians to be able to get involved. It sounds like you did it for a while and now you've brought on additional dietitians for this opportunity or to be a part of this membership exchange. I just commend you on what you've done because I know in addition to this, you also have your own private practice.
Mhm.
And so combining the two, I really think that you've got some amazing professional skills. Tell us a little bit about like when you were building this out or as you're building it out, because it is sort of a baby entrepreneur venture here. Tell us a little bit about sort of the skill set that you have learned along the way, skills that you already sort of were born with that have helped you build out this entrepreneur arm to your work.
Okay. Okay. Well, the thing that I was born with that I think helps the most is I jump in. If I think I want to try something and if I have the resources, my husband and I talk about this. He's a thinker, he'll think about it for too long
Right?
and then may or may not execute it, and where I'll say, well, let's just try it and see how it goes, And so that's helped a lot because I had to do a lot of trial and error with what works at these resorts. What I described a minute ago is not where we started with
Hmm.
what we did at the resorts because that wasn't working well. And so, but I wouldn't have started this whole completely left turn in my career. It's not even this private practice with eating disorders and PCOS is over here. This is way over here. They're not even on the same continuum, and I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have that tendency to just, okay, let's try it. I think I was on a trip in a home exchange, another way to get a cheap deal. I was on a home exchange trip with my family and I had reached out to another one of those fitness exchange programs and said, hey, do you want to do um, have dietitians? I'll help with it. And they said no. And it was that same day that I was like, well, then I'm going to do it and jump in. So that,
I love I love that. I think that's a really great message for other people listening. It's really easy to get into the trap, and I do it myself, to want to start something or learn about something, and you see this opportunity, and of course it's not going to be perfect. Of course it's not going to be all thought out and hashed out and charted out the way it should be. But just jumping in and chipping away at creating this venture, I think is a great lesson for so many. I always equate it to our family is we are a family of five, and everybody always wants the new iPhone, but everyone's always waiting for when the next phone's being released, and so they wait, and then it gets closer to the date, and then they can't wait any longer, and they buy a new one. And so it's like this process, like just get one, just jump in and get one, right? There's always going to be something that's going to modify your trajectory or change the direction. There's always going to be those. So just jump in and jump on the treadmill and make it happen. I love that. Thank you for sharing that part. What have you learned, sort of building on that, the skills along the way? It sounds like a lot of the work you have to do. I'm imagining it's like a two-pronged business where you are trying to recruit dietitians to participate in the exchange program, but also to have places for them to go, to have resorts, to have these all-inclusive resorts. And just as a definition, all-inclusive usually means the lodging, obviously, the meals and some activities, I would imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that you had to work with some of these businesses to create this relationship, to create this partnership. So you've got two sides of your business. What types of skills have you sort of developed along the way in being successful at this or in the process of?
Patience was a skill that I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with being the jumper inner. I don't have patience to sit around and think about it and talk it to death. So let's just do it. But patience, both in communication. I mean, Meaghan, most of us dietitians have some type A in us. And so the communication pace is in with the when I'm resort facing, with a lot of people in the Caribbean, is very different than, we have different communication styles or paces, I'll say.
Mm.
So that's been a learning curve. And then the other piece has been just, you never know, just really holding that concept in mind. Like you never know. You don't write something off because it didn't work. You never know. When I went to the first resort where I trialed content in, and we were doing classes, that I was doing classes. My husband was with me. We were in the DR and we're on site and figuring things out. And he said, few things that at the time I rolled my eyes at and said, "Oh my gosh." And I said to him with each thing something like, "We're professionals. We're not dietitian. I mean, excuse me, we're dietitians. We're professionals. I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z." And lo and behold, I'm doing all three of the things he said. One of them, and so it's like you never know. Those are the things that are most successful. But at the time, I totally wrote it off. He said, just to share what these are because they're kind of funny. It's just funny because I totally do these now, and I totally rolled my eyes hard when he said, why don't you bring a game wheel and you could have like nutrition trivia questions on the game wheel?" And I looked at him like, and I said something like, "It's not a carnival. We're dietitians. These are wellness meetings," or something like that. And another thing he said was, "Why don't you do the activities by the bar? Because it's shaded and people kind of gather there." And by the bar, how unprofessional
We
can
can't be
you be?
that close to the maraschino cherries, right?
Yes. And I think he also brought up, like, what about having dietitians do activities in the pool sometimes? And so those three things, I do all of them now. So it's one example of many I could share if we had more time of how I've needed to become really good at thinking. You never know. You
You
never
never
know.
know. Yeah, I think what you've hit on is a few things. One is that as an entrepreneur, gosh, you really have to be open to pivoting. This has come up before so many times. And as an entrepreneur, I think it's good to have a vision of where you want to go and what your mission is, but then being open and flexible to modifying that. And that's all part of the pivot of entrepreneurship. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, but also sort of a practical level, like people on vacation need to be entertained. That makes total sense. They're not going to want you walking around the pool in your white coat and your sensible shoes, right? And
Uh-huh.
which is still, that's totally applicable, but yet to be able to meet the patient, the client, the person who you're trying to help and work with, meeting them where they're at, and it can bring them into them. I can imagine that is very magnetizing and sort of sticky in that they will want to then talk to you and they will feel comfortable and they'll feel
Right.
welcomed, right,
Right.
in this environment and create a great connection with the dietitian. So I think those are all great ideas, but that you were open, not only that you heard them, but then you were open to implementing them. So I think those are really interesting skill sets that you've had. All right, so you've talked about yourself. Any other skills? I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say a skill. I think that you're really good at sort of reaching out and connecting with people, and I think that's probably helpful when you're trying to connect with onboarding additional resorts to partner with. But just like you and I chatting and getting ourselves set up for this actual interview, I think you're really good at reaching out and really good at, I mean, just plain old emailing and following up. And I think that's a really good skill that I have observed that I think other people would benefit from as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Building relationships and then maintaining them.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And the follow up, a lot of follow up goes into, you think a lot of effort goes into writing that first email. And that's only part of the equation to creating a partnership, a business partnership where you're making money, right? Like that's the whole goal
Mhm.
to being in business is to be able to make money. Um, can you take us back a little bit and talk about now from the perspective of dietitians who could be part of the exchange and participate and work while getting a discounted rate at the resorts? First of all, actually, tell us which resorts you've got in place. You mentioned DR. I'm assuming that's Dominican Republic.
Yep.
What are
Yep.
some other locations that you have available?
Right now, we have 4 resorts in the DR. We just added 3.
Oh,
4 weeks
nice.
ago that became official. So
Fantastic.
I'll be going,
Congratulations.
thank you. I'll be going there in a week and visiting the 3 resorts for the first time. So that'll be exciting. And I'll customize programming and all that. But 4 resorts in the DR and then 2 in Mexico, one in the hotel zone of Cancun and the other in Riviera Maya, just south of Cancun.
Oh,
The goal is to go big in other places.
yeah.
Right
So
now
these
we
are
have these 6 great
out
resorts.
all outside of the US, it sounds like.
Mhm.
Oh, awesome. Okay, interesting. All right, so nuts and bolts. How do dietitians do this? How do they sign up to do this?
So they'll go to the website, Nutrition Travel Exchange, and hopefully really look through it so that they are making an informed decision when they decide to apply, and you get a lot of questions answered on the website. I have a pretty solid frequently asked questions, and then they apply. And once I receive the application, if it's processed, they don't get processed if certain things aren't there. So they have to have all the things in there, like an attached CV or resume. Sometimes people upload their headshot instead, and that's not what would allow it to continue being processed. So once it's processed and I receive it, then we schedule a 30-minute meet and greet so we can get to know each other and questions can get answered because this is such a different gig.
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to make sure dietitians know what they can start to picture it and what it's like.
I'm saying this as an aside. Are you guys listening? This is a job interview. She's calling it an application. It's really a job interview. So you take it seriously
Yeah.
and you follow her instructions. That 30-minute meet and greet, you guys, that's a job interview. So, all right. Tell us then more about the meet and greet. What are you looking for in somebody who schedules this time with you?
Well, in the meet and greet, I'm I mean, it is nice. I really do. You're right. It is somewhat of an interview. It ends up being partly that because you can't help but to take note, right, of certain things. Like, did this person do their homework? Did they read are they asking me questions that were either on the website or even in the application? Were clear, and what's the enthusiasm level in terms of um, just or what's the comfort level with delivering these kinds of activities on site? Do they feel like they have the enthusiasm for that, or is it more like, yeah, I mean, I could probably do that. Those are noticeable, right? Because
Right.
in
You
order
want
to
someone's
I
about
want
it. Yeah,
dietitians to be super happy and have a blast, and I need to maintain my relationship with the resorts. And I
exactly.
do hear about it. The very few times things have gone differently than we would have hoped at a resort. So I need to feel confident, right, in who's going and that I tell everybody I talk to on that in that 30-minute chat, we need to have like a cheerleader attitude, like these are qualifications or needs that
Yeah.
are very specific to this very different gig. And if you've never been asked in a interview whether or not you could high five someone and smile big after they get a trivia question right, now's the time you're going to be asked that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's what I need is enthusiasm.
Yeah, well, you want the guest to feel excited about the topic
Yeah,
of nutrition, so that's completely reasonable. Yeah, I like
right.
that. And
Right. Well,
so,
and sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, so in that application process, someone presents their a cover letter and a CV or their resume. Is that what you said?
It's just a CV. There are the application are things you'd expect with
Yeah.
experience and things, and then just a CV. There's no cover letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that's good. What are some examples of not doing besides what you just mentioned, not performing well in the application process, whether it's the CV that's presented, any filling out of forms, or in that meet and greet. Give us
Yeah.
some common pitfalls to avoid.
Okay, I will. And I want to say it again that I enter every like when I see a new applications of draft, I'm so excited for new members. I'm
Yeah.
pumped. And so I'm opening their application, like excited. And at the same time, I do notice when someone is filling it out, what it feels like kind of half-assed.
Mm,
With maybe just like, for example, their first and last name all lowercase, not capitalizing their first and last name, or like I said, uploading a photo where the CV would go, or and things that tell me, okay, attention to detail is important in applying for any kind of position. And then also with what I'm running, there is a need for attention to detail, because if that's not there, you won't understand what you're supposed to execute at the resort. And we're supposed to provide a very consistent product from week to week, right? And so if a dietitian is not wearing the shirt that I provide, because they didn't pay attention to the detail that we need to wear this specific shirt, then that impacts the product I'm delivering, right?
Yeah,
And
that
so
makes sense.
if
Yeah.
there isn't attention to detail in the application, it's noticeable. The part where it asks for the CV, it does say like at some point the resort may want a headshot of you, like FYI. Right now, what I would like from you is a CV. So,
Follow the directions, you guys.
and so it's not the end of the world, um, but it's noticeable, and it makes me kind of pause a little bit. And if it says like the bio should be X number of words, and so if I get one that's, a limit, I want a limited bio, and so if I get one that's like a book, I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's noticeable too.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Thank you for that. I think that's very helpful. I think when people are, I think the reason I wanted to bring that up is because whether it is a big old job interview with an obvious big company, or it's an application to participate in something like this, for example, a travel exchange, that presenting yourself professionally is always going to help you move forward and with your career development. So I love the insight on how we can present ourselves most professionally, but also sort of thinking from the perspective that is the person that is hiring you, like how you want them to look good, how you want them to look good for their boss, their business, whatever it might be, where you're in a position to represent them. So I think that's always a great idea as a way to present yourself professionally. So thank you for those insights. All right. So I always like to talk about money, and I'm always curious about what dietitians are thinking about how dietitians can make more money. You have had a really great career working in private practice. You've seen a lot on social media. You've seen a lot just interacting with other professionals, health professionals. And now that you've got this amazing entrepreneur venture working as bringing together matchmaking dietitians with luxury resorts, how do you think dietitians can be making more money, or what do you think that they can do to be making more money?
Well, I can't speak to many other um, categories of dietitian work other than private practice. But with private practice, looking at what people are charging is one way to make sure you're setting a rate that is comparable and competitive. And so to me, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think about that is look around, like what are other people charging? So make more money by making sure you're not undervaluing your services. It's been so fun meeting all these dietitians in the nutrition travel exchange. And when I go to someone's website to check it out, sometimes I'll see their rates and stuff. And then my private practice brain is like, oh, okay, go, like get it. That's great. And so I know, and I don't otherwise really go to other dietitians' websites to look at what they're charging. So there have been a couple times where I'm like, okay, I need to raise my rates because this person's like fresh out of school and they're charging more than me. And so I need to look around again. So I think making sure you're not undervaluing your services is important.
That's really helpful. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm very excited about what you have built and how dietitians can be part of it and all of the career insights. Do you have any last some pearls of wisdom for dietitians wanting to be as successful as you?
I think it would just be if your personality, if you're born with that trait to just jump in, if you have the resources to do that, time and possibly money, then do it. The other piece would be consult who make sure you have on your team who will be, who you need. Make sure you have on your team. What am I trying to say? Have the right people on your team.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Or know where to find the right resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I've consulted with, of course, a lawyer is a good person to have on your team if you're doing something new like I'm doing. So that's, I guess, a team member and somebody I have, but also marketing. Before, when I was going from private practice, or as I was branching out into the Nutrition Travel Exchange, I hired a marketing group to consult with, and that was mind blowing. And I'm glad I did that because the learning curve I would have had if it was just me trying to figure it out on my own would have been months longer. But, in just a couple of meetings, this young marketing group, I remember saying to them, wait, what's a story? And they were like, and I said, I don't know if this is a typo, but you said to me, I need to do 3 or 4 of them a day, you know,
Oh, on social media, Instagram
on
stories, right? Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah, yeah.
And so,
Exactly.
between, so resources where it's just not your area of expertise, make sure you're consulting. And then within the dietitian world, consult with the right people. You are the person to consult with when it comes to nutrition jobs. When you asked about making more money, I think of Katie Dodd.
Yeah.
We, there are a lot of us um, who are great consultants. So
I love that you say that too, because there's a lot that goes into running your own business, whether it's a private practice or sort of a unique side hustle as you've created, or even if you're working in a traditional job. Like, there's just a lot that goes into the knowledge base you need to have to be successful, and relying on others to help fill in those gaps. You can spend a ton of time learning about a particular area, marketing, for example, that you mentioned, or giving presentation, being able to be skilled at giving a talk, or a particular computer application. There are lots of resources out there. There's other dietitians that are doing something. So being able to rely on that, I think that's all part of jumping in, right? Like, you're jumping in and bringing along areas of expertise, and being able to spend the time that you have towards your business in the most logical and efficient way. I think that's really great advice. Meaghan, thank you so much for all those words of wisdom. I'm really excited about your business, your baby business that is really, really taking off. And it just provides a great opportunity for dietitians to be able to, like, back to my spa idea, like, hey, I could work at this place in exchange for a discounted rate, right? Like, such a great idea. I'm so glad you've built this. And I hope that lots of dietitians can sign up for your membership, for being able to maybe apply and be part of your program. I will put all of the links to how to connect with Meaghan below, and do connect with her. So I think she's got a lot of great information, and I hope that you guys can connect with her. So again, thank you, Meaghan, for your time, and good luck getting on and partnering with more resorts too.
thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope your passport is handy and
It's
you can go on
up
one
to
of these
date.
trips.
It is. It is.
Awesome. Thank you,
All
Stacey.
right. Thanks so much, Meaghan.